Now the first thing I want to do is to make sure that I can see all of the available tools on my toolbar, as well as their sub-selections. So I'm going to just click and drag the left edge to create two columns as we see here. Now I can see everything that the toolbar has to offer. Now I want not just the rectangle tool, but the rectangle primitive tool. So I long press to bring that other option up, and I'm going to select rectangle primitive. Now you'll notice in properties panel, I have a rectangle option selection and the slider, which is currently at its default setting of 0. Well, what that does allows me to adjust how the corners look on the primitive I'm going to create. So let me actually set this back to 0 just to show you. I have a skin tone here I already like, but I'm going to make a shape for you and just kind of give you an idea of what this option does. Here, the slider. So I just click and drag that. You'll notice the corners of my shape. It will change and adjust accordingly. If I slide the slider all the way to the left, the corners invert. And if I slide it all the way to the right, I get the most rounded corners. Having said that, let me actually delete this and start over. What I like to do is grab this rectangle tool, and before I do anything, slide that all the way over to the value of 100, and I'm going to start by drawing the character's head. And next I'm going to move on to the eyes, and for that I'm just going to grab the oval tool. I'm going to click on the fill color here, and I'm just going to grab black. Now the one thing I want to make sure of is down here is I want to turn on object drawing mode. You'll notice that it has a container around it now because it's not an object drawing, so that it always allows me to do work, which is actually kind of nice. We zoom in here, so let's scale this down. I'm going to grab freeform tool, which is hitting Q on my keyboard, or selecting it up here from the tools panel. And let's scale this down a little bit. One way I like to work, which is nice and quick, is to hold down Shift and the Alt key. In this case, Shift and Option. Hold it and then click and drag to duplicate and to move it along the same axis. And while we're at it, I'm going to zoom in. And I'm just going to add a little bit of highlight. So for the mouth, I'm going to grab the oval tool again and a nice deep red for the inside of the mouth. Something like that. What I'm going to do is double click the object drawing, and you'll notice now I wasn't seeing one, but now I'm inside the drawing object that I just created. I'm going to use the black arrow tool as the selection tool and just draw a marquee. Allow me to select the top half of the circle. I hit the delete key on the keyboard, and there I have deleted the top half of the symbol. Now I have my mouth, but what I want to do is also create teeth. The selection tool, I'm going to click and drag again. This time I'm only going to select about the top third of this mouth and click on the fill swatch and select white. And now you'll see it's updated and fill the selection in with white. And now I have my teeth. If you want to add a tongue, it's easy to do. Let's mix a color first again. Again with the selection tool. I'm going to click now from the bottom, working my way up and select about that much of a region of this mouse symbol. Let's click here and then find that color. Now we have a tongue. And again with the black selection tool, the black arrow tool, I'm going to actually click anywhere along this line and bend it up a little bit. Now let's move on to the hair. Let's mix a nice color, dark brown let's say. And let's make a nice big circle, something like that. And like we did with the mouth, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Double click and select the bottom half, delete. And we have bangs. Now if you want to add bangs, a little bit of variation of these bangs, I'm going to double click. Use the black arrow tool. I'm inside the drawing object again. I'm going to click and drag upward from the bottom to select this region here and hit delete. So now I've created an interesting shape. And when I turn on snap to objects, let me zoom in. And I go and I click and drag one of these corners. You'll notice that it snaps to the other corner. Once I get close enough to another vector point, I'll snap it together. Essentially, it's joining these 2 points together to create one. And we can repeat this as many times as we want. To create more variations in our hair, it's up to you. And then holding down the Shift and Alt key, Shift and Option, clicking, dragging while we duplicate it, making the other ear. Let's make the hair behind her, the back of her head. I'm going to use this again, the rectangle primitive tools. What I want, I'm going to grab the same color as the hair that we already have using the eyedrop tool, and I'll show you how to arrange things later. Both create a nice big shape for the back of her head. Now what I want to do is go to Modify, Arrange, and send it back, and we have her hair. The rest of the features of this character are all compromised using the primitive tools, such as a rectangle and ovals. And then from there, using the selection tool to select different regions of these simple shapes to either delete them, or while they're selected to change their color. Whether it would be to shadow or highlight, whatever you see fit. For the shoes, I created just simple ovals, cut them in half. Then I use the line tool to create a stroke for the sole of her shoe. And she's done. So you can see how quick and easy it is to work this way using primitive tools. It's also a nice way to draw, even if you don't have any kind of pressure sensitive drawing tablet, or maybe you're on your laptop and using a trackpad. You can still achieve this kind of really cool results this way, just freehand. Hope you like it.